All right. Hey there, everyone. Hitesh here, and welcome back to the series. If you're watching in continuation, then that's great. But in this video, we'll try to finish up and wrap up this project because there is nothing too much to discuss and discuss in this video. We have prepared everything. Our services are prepared for Appwrite. Our components are prepared. Now we just need to do is bind up everything. That's what the thing is. But I don't want to repeat the binding process as you have seen in the previous video where we discussed about how we can make a MongoDB call and all of that. I want to show you a different approach of that. Otherwise, that would be a repetition of the things and it doesn't add value to your life. And that's what my goal is, add value. So let me show you one interesting thing which will be super helpful for you. And again, there is no right and wrong. There are different approaches of doing the things. Sometimes you find more value in this approach. Sometimes you find value in this approach more. So I'll show you one such approach. Maybe there you can find some of the values. All right. Let's go ahead and get started with that. So this is the directory structure. This is one of the project that we built earlier in this series or in the video, wherever you are. So notice here we were going into the source directory and we were keeping all the files here. Our app directory was important, so we actually went into this. The API is the backend, which we kept into users, and then we have a lot of folders inside it. But if I go outside, this API is the backend. Rest of all the things are front end. So I hope you can imagine as the pages will expand, there will be so much of these directories, which some of you might get panicked that, hey, this is a problematic structure directly here. We are having our backend organized in just one folder. Why don't we have something which can organize our front end as well? Yep, I'll explain you how you can do that just in this video. That's exactly why I've opened this up. So I'll walk you through that, how we can do that. In a minute, I'll tell you that. But first, this is a different approach that we are using. We won't be using any middleware or something because you have already knowledge of that. So I won't be focusing on that. I'll walk you through with a different approach of how you can do the things. Now, first here, let's take an example of this layout. We haven't discussed it in much. I did created a video earlier, which is not a part of this series, where we discussed the file structure a lot in detail. So in case you want that, go ahead and watch that live stream. I was discussing that in the live YouTube video. But I'll still give you a brief approach. So notice here, this is a layout. This layout is actually right now inside my app directory. So this is considered as a global layout. What is a layout? Nothing much more. It is a wrapper. This will be a wrapper around all of the things and which are happening inside the app directory. So notice here in the app directory right now, there is one thing only, which is page. And this wrapper is actually a wrapper around the page itself. So for example, notice here there is a title here which says create next app. So we'll just go ahead and say that this time we are not creating just an app. So we are going to go ahead and say create next and Appwrite app, something like that. And we're going to say description is generated by create next app. Now you're learning it on YouTube. So we'll just get that. Now, not only this, what I want to show you is that notice here, this component actually is a root layout component. That means it's on root level. So obviously that's where this is. It accepts children and it renders the children. The whole job of this component is to do nothing. The whole job and idea is to just render the component. But right now, if I just save this and go back onto my code files, and this is how it looks like. But somehow, if I actually want to modify all the pages that I have, I can actually come here and every single page is going to render this. I'll go inside the body. I'll just say, hey, I want an h1 tag. And this one is going to say, this is all render element, something like this. And we'll add some classes so that we can actually see it much more easier. So we'll just go ahead and say, we'll just get a width of 100. We'll just get a background of white maybe. And the text is going to be black. And the text is going to be 3XL. Just basic classes. So what you'll notice now that every single page has this render element, and maybe we can actually try something more fun in case you are enjoying these classes. So text-center, if I can write that properly, text-center. So this is a render element. Now, no matter what page you go, this element will be present in every single element. And that's the whole idea behind having this layout. Now, if you amend anything, so notice here, we are since injecting this metadata will be presented in every single page that we have. All right, now that you understand the importance of the layout, it's not like that this is the only layout that you can go ahead and create. There are other layouts also that you can go ahead and create that. And I'll walk you through that, how you can actually go ahead and do that. I'll show you in a minute. All right, so what we're going to do is, notice here how interestingly we are going to modify everything. We can just save this. We are not worried about changing things here. Inside the app, I'm going to create a new folder. Notice the syntax of how I'm actually creating these folders. I'll create a folder. I'll start with a parenthesis, not the square bracket. Square bracket has a different meaning, and it's a framework. Everything has a different meaning in here. And I'll call this one as pages. Now, in the Next.js, still, you can actually use these parentheses to denote a special thing for you. It will not affect anything inside the framework itself, but it will help you to organize your files and directories and folders, everything quite a lot. So now inside this pages, I can create a lot of things. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'll create a page. So I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, this will be page.tsx, just like this. Now, why am I creating this page only? Now, this is a page which will be saying that, hey, what should I log in? Should I render? This will act as a home page, and I'll show you how it is being actually done, because right now there is no other page. So we'll be actually redirecting our home page that, hey, this is the children. I'll do that. Now, the first thing that I want to do here is that should I be rendering a home element or should I be rendering a profile card? Because if the user is logged in, he should be seeing a profile card. So for this, we'll be using something like this. So first and foremost, I'm going to go ahead and say use client. I'll surely inject some of the CSS as well that I'll directly give you. I'm going to go ahead and simply say, hey, use auth is the one thing which is telling me whether I should be having this or not. Everything is designed there. Obviously, we'll be needing a React, and that React is going to come up from React. And we'll be importing the profile card as well. So profile card comes up. And we'll also grab the login component as well. So let's go ahead and say, hey, let's go ahead and bring in login. That comes up as a component. That's it. Let's call this one as const, and we'll be calling it as home. This home will go like this, and there we go. Now I can do conditional rendering based on just one thing. I can just go ahead and bring something from the use auth, and you know what I'm about to build. And I'll just go ahead and say auth status. All right. Now, as soon as I do this, now where should I access this? That's a big question. If I go ahead and reload this, there's nothing. If I go ahead and say /pages, which I just mentioned up here, there is nothing. So what's the point of having this pages if I'm actually not able to do all of this? And we have created a component. Right now, this component doesn't return anything, but let's just say for the sake of rendering. So I'll just go ahead and say, hey, return. And this will not do anything. I'll just shift it a little. Come on, not like that. I'll shift it here and I'll say return, and we'll be returning just a simple home. So just like this. And I'll say, give me an H1, and we'll be saying home page. That's all. And again, you'll be seeing there is nothing, literally nothing. So how do I actually grab anything from there? That's the question. So let me answer that first. All right, so now let's address the issue which is bothering us. So again, we have created all this, we're super happy, but one thing is still bothering us. How can I get these pages? This is $1 million question right now in front of me. And if you look into the documentation, it's actually a little bit confusing there as well. So I don't have these pages, that's for sure. But also I don't know how can I actually bring the home page as home here. So this is my home page. I want it to redirect here. This is where the directory structure fallback comes in. So let me just tell you a theory here. Again, theory, not a hard proof up here. So notice here, everything is inside the pages, and I'm not directly defaulting to serving this page here. What if this page doesn't exist? This has so many things right now, all the Next.js and stuff like that. What happens if this page doesn't exist? Let's go ahead and delete this and try this out. If I go ahead and move it to trash, now this page is gone. Does my app crash? So let's go ahead and look at the refresh. My page is, hey, received a promise that resolved to undefined, lazy element, and all of that. So what is actually happening? How this is not working? If I don't have a page, it doesn't really work. Let's go ahead and try to refresh. But here, a couple of things here, interesting one. I'll just close this and we'll restart this. And there we go. We don't have anything. So this is not yet giving us the error. Now hit a refresh. And this will take still some time. And now the thing is that if that page doesn't exist, we get an error. We know this already. Now let me just resolve this error. All right, so I'm back after a small phone call. Yes, things happen. This is life, and this is how we run. All right, so where we were just trying to explore that, okay, we have this home page. We haven't yet exported it, so let's go ahead and simply go ahead and export default home, so that's nice. But this is not going to resolve the problem. What we have done is a foundational change in the Next.js project, which is everything is dependent on the page, and this layout is also expecting that, okay, I'm a wrapper, but you need to provide me some children so that I can render them out. And you have deleted this entire page thing. What are you doing? Are you in your right mind or not? And that is the reason why nothing is getting served and nothing is going to be served here. Even if you get this page is right inside the pages, that's great, but there is the issue of the layout here. Again, after a couple of hit research, you'll find that this error is a little bit tricky yet because Next.js is still in very development phase, aggressive development. So sometimes you'll get this error, sometimes they're not. And all they are asking is that, hey, what you're missing is, okay, you have this pages, but you should also have a layout inside the pages as well. This is the structure of what the Next.js follows. Yes, layout inside a layout, and there can be one more. Every directory can have its own layout, and that's crazy here. And that actually solves a lot of issues in here. So let's inside the pages, I'll right click and create a new file, and we're gonna call this one as layout. What you export method inside it doesn't really bother you much, but the file name should be layout.tsx. Just having a layout is not going to solve the issue. If I go ahead and save this layout, but at least it resolves the issue, giving us that now there is not that much of a problem. The Next.js is decently happy, but not too happy because it needs all of this. Now layouts are exactly same, so you can just either copy and paste this whole layout, or you can just actually write it along with me. I'll prefer to rewrite it so that it builds some habit for you. Now this layout is also going to be a client layout because I want to pull in some information. This is everything happening client side. I would definitely need Appwrite service. So I'll just say Appwrite service. Let's bring it up here. We'll be needing some of the blog from the component to just display some fancy stuff, nothing much there. We'll also be needing header because header will be every single place. And the way how we have designed the header, in case you forgot that, it's actually automatically rendering things based on conditions. So notice here. So here it is, based on the auth status, our header is displaying either the profile or signup. So header is a good information that we want to have it. Now, one of the most important thing that we'll be bringing here is actually the auth provider. So if you notice that auth provider, this auth provider will help us to display conditionally whether we should be displaying something or not and all of that. Not only that, since it's a provider, I told you that provider actually wraps up everything, and this layout actually wraps up everything. So this solves our issue that I can use my auth provider, and this provider can send information to all of my component what they need there. Otherwise, there will be prop drilling, and I really don't want that. So after this, I'll be having a React, and then two famous guys of the React, which is use effect and use state. We'll be bringing it up. The way how this layout is designed, you can call this method anything, but first let's study this layout, that how this layout is designed. So rest of the things are pretty boring. So after this export default function, root layout, this root layout takes a children, and that children is of type react.react node, and then we simply go ahead and render these children. This is the basic. I repeat this again, probably that was a little fast. Name your function whatever you like. I usually use the word layout, that's a good idea. But again, the naming of the file is important, not the methods. It accepts children, that's one thing. This children is of type react.react node, and then simply you go ahead and render it. So that's what exactly we'll be doing. In this case, let's go ahead and say, hey, we are going to call this one as protected layout. And protected layout takes a parameter as children. Again, remember, children's are of type react.react node. So we'll be giving this type as well. And let's go ahead and say that this will be of type react.react node. I'll copy this. Otherwise, I'll probably make a mistake. So I'll copy this and we'll paste it up here. That's better. All right, that is good enough. Now let's go ahead and have it like this. This will complain obviously because you are not rendering the children. You are not returning the type as well. We'll deal with this error in a minute. But first, let's go ahead and grab our auth status. So we'll be saying, hey, I'll probably use a tab indentation here. There we go. So we'll simply have, that's a wrong one. I'll actually bring in mine. So I'll be saying that, hey, I need a state, which will be auth status. That's my variable, set auth status. And we'll be setting the states just like this. So that's fine. I'll also introduce a loader. I probably would love to have a loader which is more of a spinning wheel or something, but in this case, I'll just settle up with the simple loader, which is just a text. Set loaders, initially it's true, so that's okay. Now, before I return anything, obviously, as soon as this layout, but end of the day, we are calling it as a layout, but end of the day, this is just a React component. And React components can use effect. We'll do that. So I'll just simply say, hey, I want to use the use effect. And there we go. Have nothing inside as a render, so it renders only the first time. As soon as this comes up, I want that my Appwrite service should actually ask that the whether is somebody is logged in or not. And since this actually returns a promise the way how we have designed it, we can actually go ahead and say, hey, dot then, if actually it resolves, then we are going to go ahead and say set auth status. And as soon as I call this, this is going to set it. Because notice here, what we are returning this, we are passing it on here. So this set auth status is going to set it up. And if it is not, then we'll not do the catch. We'll simply go ahead and run the finally, because anyhow we need this one. In this case, we'll set it up false. So if you just call it, this is obviously going to set it up to true. In case you are not happy with this one, we'll just go with this. Otherwise, we'll set the loader false. This set auth status is default false. It will remain as it is. All right. Now, after this, we'll just go ahead and simply use the return part of it. In the return, I'll use this auth provider. Yep. The value of the auth provider is going to be auth status and auth set auth status. So both of them are being provided to us. And we'll simply go ahead and in this one, first and foremost, we need to close this auth provider. So I'll just say auth provider and not like that. We'll be having a slash. There we go. Should be all happy. All right. So now we have this one. Now inside this auth provider, I told you this auth provider is nothing. Come on. Why are you doing this? Escape and hit a tab. Escape and hit a tab. Okay. So now what this auth provider is a wrapper. So it will pass on the information every single place where I'm just asking it. But based on the loader is done or not, we'll be providing the information. So first I'll check if there is no loader and not leader. Loader, and we don't need auth status and stuff. We'll just go ahead and with the ampersand, escape that. We'll just render an element, what that element is going to be. A simple fragment just like this, and inside this I do have some classes which will help you to have a proper display. So div.text-primary. I'll give you these assets and some of the files as well, so don't you worry. Come on, no suggestions. Div.primary, just like that. And I'll actually give you directly this so that it actually helps you copy that. And I'll paste this. Again, nothing more. There are some CSS files which actually include this blog. Nothing to be worried. These are just the background elements. So nothing much more than that. After this, we'll be having this header. So just like this, we'll be having header. Come on. What is happening? There we go. We have this header, and after this, we'll be having a simple main class, which will be rendering the children. So that is all what we are doing. And let's hit an enter, main class. All right, so this was all fancy stuff. So this whole div is a fancy stuff, nothing to be worried. This header is also almost fancy stuff. The meat part is here, the main, which is rendering the children. So auth provider will be responsible that whatever the children comes up here, I can pass on information and can query directly the auth provider, hey, what's the current value of it? So as soon as I save this, now let's go ahead and try to hit a refresh. Now notice here we have a couple of errors that did, hey, elements are of lazy type. There are some issues with that. Probably we are not exporting this. Yeah, we are not exporting the protected layout. So let's go ahead and do that first. And we'll be saying export default protected layout. So now things should be different. And there we go. Now we are having this Appwrite, home, about, contact, and home page is rendering. So what we have learned with this, that is the most important thing. And what we have learned into this is, although I don't have a page.tsx directly inside the main, I really don't need it. But what I need 100% is a layout. If that file goes, yeah, the project is bonkers. But inside the pages, I can have this layout and pages.tsx, and this can actually serve as a home page. Yeah, that's a new information. All right, let's see where we are having this issue. So this children, why are we having property protected layers? All right, so I think this is bothering a little bit. Shouldn't be bothering that much. Let me just quickly check that why this is bothering us. Let me quickly take a look on this. All right, got it. There are some syntax issues. So it's actually better if I go ahead and take this one as a structure. So I'll just copy this till the above this one. So I'll copy this directly. These syntax and structures are sometimes problematic. So I'll just go ahead and copy it here. And there we go. And probably we copied an extra colon. And I think we shouldn't be doing that. And now this is giving a colon just like this. There we go. Hopefully things are okay now. Okay, let's check it out. All right, so at least this is working, and we have, so this blog, yeah, this is exactly the background elements and all of that. So this is what we are having. Now, here is the interesting part. Now that you have understood this much part, now can you understand that we can, instead of doing this home page, we can actually go ahead and do a conditional rendering here. And that is exactly what we are about to do. So based on this auth status, we'll be doing some conditional rendering. Let me just go ahead and tell you that directly. So instead of this return, we'll be pasting this one here. So notice the top part is just nothing. It's just centering the element on the left side, Nextjs, some blah, blah stuff, nothing to be worried. The whole thing is actually here. This is the piece. And this is very basic minimum. We have already discussed in the previous part of it that if the auth status is present, then go ahead and render the profile card. Otherwise, just load the login component that we have. If I save this, notice here, this is what we have. Again, we don't have this global, some of the style sheets are still missing. I'll just go ahead and add this a little bit in a minute. But notice here, this is all what we are having. And if this is what we are logged in. Let me quickly check that if I can quickly fix the styling part, otherwise we'll just move with this one. All right, it's not a big issue. I actually forgot to customize some of the theme elements as well. So I'm actually configuring a little bit of the Tailwind theme, nothing too much, but I'll still show you. So this is how the project is looking like because it's not able to find these primary colors and all of that. I'll just go ahead and do that. So inside this extended, all I can do is actually provide some of the custom colors that we are using. So I'll just go ahead and wrap this up first and put up a comma so that it doesn't give us any error. And all I'm doing is setting up some of the primary and secondary colors. So I'll just give you, we actually picked up the colors from the Appwrite itself. So I'll just give that. So that is it and should be all happy now. Save this and there we go. So most of the colors are there, but yeah, I know this is not the best styling work. I don't want to focus too much on the styling part, so that is it. Okay, let's just close it right there. All right, now that we understand that, okay, this is again a cool way of having the elements and layouts and you understand the importance of layout, there is little more that we can do with this layout and I'll walk you through with that. But first, what we're going to do is close the sign up and all these pages as well, because there is nothing too much in that. It's actually very basic. Right now, this is the home page, but if I go ahead and do the sign up, that doesn't exist because we don't have nothing here there. So I think that's the easy part. Now let's quickly do that and how we do that, because right now we are seeing everything is outside of this. Now inside the pages, I'll create a folder and I'll call this one folder as sign up. And inside this, I'll create a page.tsx. Again, this is because it's a front end, page.tsx. And there is nothing much into this one. All I have to do is simply say, hey, use client first. Use client, just like that. And let's import our classic things, use auth and all of that. We don't need to import service here. We can just go ahead and work with the use auth here. Everything will be asking with the use auth. Let's also go ahead and import router as well. Use router. This one is coming from navigation. Navigation, there we go. And we'll be needing React, of course. So we'll be saying, hey, React. And that will be coming up from React. And we'll be needing a sign up component as well. And we'll be saying, give me sign up component, sign up from sign up component sign up. Okay. Now again, basic sign up page. Yeah, that's good enough. And let's export this as well. Export default sign up. In here, we'll be first asking that, hey, let's give us a router. Router will be coming up from use router. We'll also be having one more, which is auth status. Based on this, I'll be rendering the stuff. So I can just simply ask, if the auth status is true, then I can simply go ahead and simply say, hey, router, let's actually replace the stuff. Instead of router.push, we are going to replace the entire page. So router.replace, and we'll be replacing it to a page or a URL that is /profile. Because if the user is already logged in, I don't want to show him the sign up page. Really simple. There is nothing much. And what you're going to see, I think that is already, that's it. But what we found out while working on this is sometimes you want to actually return an empty fragment. Why this? Because of the layout. Layout needs sometimes this to actually avoid. This is the issue which I'm still researching a little bit, like how we can do the basics. So again, I'm also in the learning journey. So please, if you find some better alternative or solution like that, just give me that. I'll actually take that. Otherwise, if the user is not logged in, then that block will not run. So I'll just go ahead, come here. What I'll return is just a sign up component wrapped around it. That's all. But I have actually a wrapper. So I have actually returned some CSS here. So we can simply have this sign up component here. So this is just a sign up. And that's it. Now, if I save this, and hopefully if I go ahead and refresh this, and we have the sign up page, there we go. So this is what we built up. Again, you don't have to worry about the CSS part. Even if you have the basic CSS, that is also totally fine. All right. Similarly, we need to build up a login page as well and a logout page as well. So let's go ahead and build the login page. We can close this. Inside the pages, we are having a folder, which will be login, and we'll be having this page.tsx. This is for a lot of people a better approach. Again, I don't judge people based on what approach they are following. I think this is all is required. So I'll copy this, paste it up there. And we don't need sign up. We actually need login in this one. And actually just directly write it. That would be better. Import login from login. All right. Const login page. There we go. We simply go ahead and export default login page. Inside this, the same stuff will happen. We'll first ask that, hey, whether you are logged in or not, and all of that. So I'll just copy this. It actually makes sense to copy all of this and paste it up here. So we'll say, let's read this again. So router is there, auth status is there. If the auth status is there, I want to redirect him to onto profile. This is still on the research phase. If it is not working, then obviously I want to mount the login. All right, so the login page is done. What's interesting is that how we are actually dealing up with the logout. That's interesting because if actually you see the component part, the way how we have designed it. So in the login also, and also let me show you the login as well. Not the login, actually avatar. Yeah, here it is. If I open up this avatar component, not the avatar actually, profile card. Yep, my bad. Profile card, we have this logout and this is directly a link. So what I want to do is I want to create this logout in such a way that if anybody visits this logout, automatically, I have a couple of options. As soon as I could have done this directly here as well, that I could have requested a route, could created a method here, but I don't want to do this. I will create a component of logout as soon as somebody visits /logout. So there will be a page of logout. There I'll use my use effect hook because I can. And there I'll call my Appwrite service that, hey, just do the logout. So that's my flow. Again, if you don't like this flow, simply go ahead and create a method here. That's it. So how we are going to do this is create a page for the logout. So let's right click on the pages, create a new folder. We'll be calling this one as logout. Make sure you call it exactly logout because that's what we have mentioned in the profile card. Right click, new file, page.tsx, nothing too much. In this one, we don't need all of this, but I'll still grab all of this. Copy this, we can close this, paste this. We don't need to bring in any components, so that is fine. But obviously, I know that I'll be using use effect. So it's better to have the use effect just like this. Okay, very simple. Logout page. There we go. We simply go ahead and say export default logout page. That's the basic, absolute basic. Okay, now I need a couple of things. We need router to push to somewhere else. So let's go ahead and create a router. Use router. There we go. We obviously need the auth states. So we'll be saying const. I need set auth status because I'm pretty sure I don't need the status to verify. I just want the method so that I can just do the false here. There we go. And I'll simply go ahead and first return. So I don't need to return anything. But since there is a layout, if you don't return even an empty fragment, it will crash. We have seen that. So just giving you an advanced heads up there. All you have to do is provide an empty fragment. And this actually saves your life. There we go. And yes, our team struggled really hard in understanding that why is it crashing? Then we realized, oh, that's a layout. It needs to render a React component. And that's we injected the TypeScript that, hey, we need this. So Yeah, just sharing the experience, how we actually build it. Use effect, and there we go, basics just like this. In here, I'll use the Appwrite. Are we bringing the Appwrite here? No, we're not bringing the Appwrite, so we should be bringing the Appwrite service. Where should I bring? Probably top is good. Appwrite service, now we have this. So Appwrite service, you go ahead and just do the logout. We created a method. Here is the logout. And again, the logout is also a promise. So you can just run the method. And once you have this method, you can actually go ahead and use a .then. And if the .then is there, then we can have a callback. So let's go ahead and have, first, let's close the then we can have a callback just like this. There we go. Now inside the callback, I'll say set auth status to false, and router is going to push you to the home page. Home page will take care of itself, and that's it. So I hope you understand the logic that we are doing with the logout. Super simple, nothing complex there. Okay, now we have, let's check out. We have the sign up, happy with this. We have logout, we are happy with this. Login, we are happy with this. But what about profile? Hitesh, that's the major question we have been wondering so far. Now, again, something interesting about this one as well. Now notice here, inside the pages, I'll create a new folder. Notice the naming convention again. I'm creating a parenthesis again. Yeah, parenthesis means there's a lot of stuff that is going to happen. I'll call this one as protected. So all the pages inside this one are going to be protected pages. Since I'm not creating a middleware, I can go with the middleware approach as well. But actually, a lot of things can be taken care by the use context itself. So just like I have used this couple of other places as well. Inside the protected also, I can have other pages and all of this. So again, you know what's the syntax and how the structure goes. Protected, the page inside the protected is not that important. So let's just say I don't have this one. So I'll directly create a folder. I'll say that, hey, there will be a profile here, which will be protected. So inside the profile, I'll create a new file, which will be page.tsx, or there could be hundreds of other protected one. Not the TS. Right click and what is happening? I want to rename this. And this one will be page.tsx. Why is it not working? Page.tsx, because it's a component. And this protected itself, the most important thing is this protected should have a layout. Layout.tsx. All right, so I hope this is now very repeatable. So you can have as many protected routes, and this layout will be common for all the directory. Yes, that is where you actually include or enjoy the directory structure. So in the directory structure, we'll be working through. So again, remember this. This layout will be for all this directory structure. And this layout will be for all the directory structure at this. So the level actually matters. And we have one more here. This layout will be for everyone. So layout inside layout inside layout. Yeah, we are going crazy with that. But we'll go with that. All right, so let's first handle this layout. This is actually relatively simple to handle. Let's go ahead and do that. All we are doing is protecting. If the user is logged in, that's okay. We'll be rendering the children. If it is not, then we'll be sending him on to some other place. Again, this is again use client, suggestions, no suggestion. No suggestion. Hate that. Okay, once we have this client, let's go ahead and first bring the use auth. So we'll be saying, hey, I'll be saying, give me use auth. That will be context. All right. We'll be needing the router as well to redirect. Next navigation. I like that. Import React from React. That's there. Again, we'll be saying const. I'll actually copy paste this time. I don't want to get into the mess of fixing this. So I'll be just saying that, hey, this is a protected layout. Let's name it exactly same. There is no point of changing the name. So let's go ahead and do this. There we go. All I think that I don't want to do is this whole stuff. So I'll be just closing it like that. And we also don't need to return it like that. I'll just remove everything here. That's it. So it's much more. We don't have a use effect here. We don't want to do that. And I'll also clean this one as well. I don't understand what that is. What I have to do is, as long as I return the children, this will be super happy. So I'm done. I'm done with the layout, but I don't want to do it like that. Since this is a protected route, on every single page, if this is getting mounted, then I can check something. I don't need middleware, just a simple line. What middleware is? It just is a checker. You can inject, this is on your own custom way of implementing the middleware. So what I'll do is first I'll grab a router. So let's go ahead and say, hey, router, use router, and also use auth status, and that's it. And let's just check it. Simple if and else. If there is an auth state, if there is no auth state, then hey, redirect him onto the login page, return this because crash, yeah, you get that. And in that case, return the children, too much space. And then we can simply have this protected. Now that's it. The page is, every single page is protected. That's all I'm saying, yeah. And now let's go ahead and try this out. Save this, and inside the profile, we have this page. Don't have to write a single line of code. I can freely just say that, hey, this will be protected because of the layout. So I'll just say, hey, let's bring in the profile cards now. And once we have the profile card, let's also bring in the link. We'll be needing that. This will be from next link. Okay, and let's also import React from, come on, suggestion from React. And we'll be having a profile. Come on, suggestions, no suggestion. Yeah, profile page, just like this. Export this as well. Export default profile page. In here, whatever you want to display, you can just go ahead and display that. I know that I'm not going to be bothering you with much of it. I have told you the concept. Now, you display here the account details, you display the profile card, whatever you want, you can just go ahead and do that. We are also not doing a drilling. We are just getting a profile card, and we are getting the information directly in the component itself. So whatever that is, we can actually bring it up here. And that's the magic that's coming up here. And now let's see if I can actually visit the profile. So instead of the sign up, let's try this. If I go ahead and say, hey, I want to visit profile. No, I don't visit it because I'm redirected back to the login. So that is what is. Now this is again a different way of understanding and learning. Let me summarize this because this is again a really, really interesting take on the Next.js. I'm super happy about it. But let me show you and walk you through with that. So how this entire thing happened and how this is all working. So we learned that if we don't even have the pages, we can still make the layout of the Next.js work. But what's more important than the pages is the layout, because layout is the thing which is rendering everything. And it needs something to actually display. That's what the whole goal is. What approach we are using here inside the app is we were worried that if we will have too many of the front end page, that might get scary scattered here. So now our API can have app can have .api, and there we can write the backend logic if we have. If we don't have it, we can create a pages with the parenthesis. This doesn't need to have its own page itself. We can have and can just be worried about the layout itself. So inside the pages, we created this layout, which is the most important thing. And inside this, we have this page here, and now this page is conditionally rendering. This layout is effective on all the pages that we are having. All right. So this is what the directory structure means. In one pages, we'll have just one layout, and this will be rendered in all the pages that we are having. Further, if we know this, we use this technique inside the protected as well, that hey, again a directory structure. That means inside this also I can have one more layout. And in this layout, I have checked it. So before rendering any component, I'm checking this out. So this is another approach in case you don't want to have this middleware or the backend or anything related to the backend. You can simply check this with the component level as well, because end of the day, this is React. This is how we used to do this React. So there are different approaches. There is no right and wrong. Whichever feels good to you, you use that. Whichever your company says, hey, this is better approach, use that. I've walked you through with the cases of middleware as well. I've walked you with the cases of context API as well. In case you need something more, just let me know. I'll present that scenario as well. In case you want to have a research or a discussion with me, hey, which one is better, which scenarios are good for which one, we can do that in our Saturday live, surely. But I think this is it. And I'll also push this entire source code in my GitHub repository as well, so that you can see this, all of that. That's basic. And again, if there is a small bug or something like that, I'll definitely go ahead and tweak that out as well. But majorly whatever I wanted to share with you, I've done that. So I think that's a good start of, there's a really lot in depth start of the React.js, and we are just talking about authentication. How amazing is that? Really, I'm enjoying this teaching part. So I hope you understand the efforts as well that we are putting in. So a subscribe is kind of, you can give that. You can give that. That is it for this video. I hope you have enjoyed that, and let's go ahead and catch up in another such video.